If you own or manage a distillery and you'd like to learn how to sell more whiskey, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Ben Salisbury. Welcome to my channel. This is a 3-part video series for distillery owners and managers who want to learn how to sell more whiskey. Part 1, which you're watching right now, is all about the mindset that you have to have in this highly competitive industry if you want to succeed. Part 2 gets into how to sell direct to consumer, which is absolutely essential, especially if you're a smaller distillery. And then part 3 gets into how to succeed in the 3-tier world. If you want to learn to sell more whiskey, it starts with making great whiskey to begin with. So this video assumes that your whiskey's awesome. Unfortunately, that's not enough because you're competing against thousands and thousands of other whiskey brands, many of them very well funded and have a long track record of success. But don't let this discourage you. This video is going to help you compete and win. So in spite of all the competition you have, another factor is the game has changed significantly just in the last 5 or 6 years, and a lot of the advice you might receive is advice that used to work 5, 10, 15 years ago, so you have to be really careful who you listen to. But the changes are there nevertheless, and you need to understand what they are and how to adapt to them, and I'm going to get into all of that. I want to help set you up for success, and where it starts is this mindset. So don't skip this video. Watch this whole video, then go on to number 2 and number 3. So in this video, we're talking about the mindset for selling more whiskey. And there's 3 things I want to cover in this category of mindset. And the first is you need to control your own destiny. It is so important to have this mindset. You cannot rely too much on other businesses, other parties to help you with your sales success. For example, relying too much on distributors or relying too much on brokers, marketing agencies. While you need this support for sure, you have to be careful you don't rely too much on it. Because the fact is the burden of building sales and distribution has shifted from the distributor to the producer. It's on you, it's on your shoulders to take responsibility for your own sales outcomes. Don't ever think for a minute that because you've found a good distributor in a state that the sales are just going to flow. So you must adopt this mindset of controlling your own destiny. It's super, super important. Another reason why you have to adopt a mindset of controlling your own destiny is a lot of what used to work no longer works or works as well. I mentioned in the intro that things have changed a lot in the last 5 or 6 years, and they certainly have. A couple of things to highlight there are there's just so many more brands out there, and there's fewer distributors to help sell them. And the competition is really fierce. So by not taking the advice of people who succeeded 10, 15 years ago and really understanding what's happening now and how to adapt to it, that's how you're really going to come out ahead on your sales. And when it comes to this mindset, and you know, why should you listen to me? I mean, I've been doing this for 38 years. I could help you avoid lots of costly and time-consuming mistakes, so you would be wise to listen to me. So the first thing you've got to grasp and embrace is you've got to control your own destiny. Now, the next 2 parts of this 3 video series are going to get into how to do this well. Part 2 covers direct to consumer and all the facets of that. And part 3 gets into the 3-tier realm and how to be successful there. Those are the areas that you need to really make sure you have the right mindset for controlling your own destiny. So stay tuned for those. I'll put links in the description for those 2 videos so you can check them out. So the second part of our mindset discussion is called Scale It. You need to be able to scale whatever it is you do. It's going to be really hard to sell all the whiskey you want to sell unless you know how to scale your sales efforts. Now, you need to be able to strike the right balance between things that cannot be scaled, which you still have to do, some of them, and the things that can be scaled. And this is where most distilleries really fall short. They default to the tried and true things that people think they need to sell more whiskey. In-store tastings, educating the distributor, working with the distributor, spending a lot of time talking about your product face to face. These things are important and effective, but they just can't be scaled. And so don't fall into the trap where that's all you've got. Anytime that there's a physical presence of a human being required, then it's not scalable. So what is scalable? Let's talk about this for a minute. And there's a learning curve to a lot of this, no question about it. But those who are willing to submit to the learning curve and to take the time to understand how to leverage all of this, the sky's the limit, because they're all totally scalable. So here's some of the things that can be scaled. And by scaling, I mean without limit. So email marketing is so powerful, and it can be totally scaled infinitely. Lead generation is scalable, especially digital lead generation, where you're constantly growing your list of consumers and trade buyers. Organic social, everyone knows this already, how scalable that is. Not everybody's doing a great job of it, and I'll cover that in another video. But organic social, posting, curating your feed, this is unlimited potential to reach lots of people. To go along with this is paid social, paid ads, digital advertising. This is infinitely scalable too. And the last thing you need to learn about scaling your sales efforts is search engine optimization. You need to have a website that's mobile friendly, that's fast, it's simple, easy to navigate. And when people are searching for different terms related to the topic of whiskey, your website comes up at the top of the search. Now, this is something, I have other videos that talk about SEO, but for now I just want to say that most of your competitive distilleries are not going to take the time to learn the finer points of SEO. They're not going to take time to learn the technical aspects, the digital marketing aspects of how to sell more whiskey. And that's good news for you, because if you invest in the time to do them right, you have a big leg up on your competitors. I know these things aren't very sexy, and maybe you're thinking, well, I didn't get into the distillery business to focus on digital marketing and digital selling strategies. That may be true, but when you decided to open a distillery, you stepped into one of the most competitive consumer product categories on the planet. And if you want to sell your whiskey, you're going to have to get good at all of these things I'm talking about. Now, the third thing I want to talk about in this heading of mindset is you need to be able to be open to getting coaching, mentoring, and having some advisors who know what they're doing. I met with lots and lots of distillery owners over the 8 years that I've been doing this. Most of them got into the business because they have a passion for whatever it is they're distilling. Their background may or may not be in sales and marketing, and they certainly don't have any experience in our industry. Most people don't have a clue how competitive this industry really is. And so they're in for quite a shock the first time they try to sell any of their whiskey. This is an extremely complex and competitive industry. And to make things worse, they've really changed a lot in the last 5 or 6 years. The pandemic did a lot to disrupt the way whiskey is sold in this country, and it's changing all the time. So it really is wise to have a guide, a mentor, a coach, an advisor or two who really know what they're doing, who can help you sail through these choppy waters. You know, for a lot of distillery owners, sales and marketing, not necessarily their strength. Now, many have those skills when they come into it, and they've got a big leg up. But for the rest of you, you're going to need somebody who understands the finer points of selling and marketing in this competitive world. So I want you to be really careful who you're listening to. Whenever you start a new business, people come out of the woodwork with advice. Most of it is well-meaning, a lot of it is from family and friends, but when you dig below the surface, you realize that it's not very well qualified advice. It's not coming from people who have been doing this for decades and have stayed on top of all the changes taking place. So at the risk of sounding too self-serving, I would be happy to be your mentor, coach, and advisor. And you don't need to look very far at my track record of success, my customer base, and all of the things I have to say about being successful in this industry. You don't have to look very far to find evidence that I know what I'm talking about. Now, there might be some of you watching this video and you're thinking, oh, what's all this mindset talk? Just show me how to sell stuff. Well, that's what trips so many people up. They don't want to get into the right mindset. They don't want to take time to assess the current environment and assess what works and what doesn't. They just want to jump right in. And if that describes you, well then feel free to jump ahead to parts 2 and 3. But for the rest of you, I would take these mindset tips that I'm giving you to heart and make sure you're going into this with the right frame of mind. So looking ahead to parts 2 and 3. Part 2, I'm going to get into how to sell direct to consumer. This is your e-commerce business. This is all about your website pointing anyone who's interested in buying your product, making sure there are ways for them to fulfill that desire to place orders, and there's several different ways to do it. So we're going to dive into that specifically for whiskey sales. In part 3, we're going to get into how to be successful in the 3-tier realm. And I would advise you now that you really need to get your DTC house built properly before you head into the 3-tier realm. That's why I've put them in this order. But both of those videos are going to be very valuable. I'll have links in the description for you to go straight to them. Now, if you're ready to go fast and you just don't have the patience for listening to me yak, I encourage you to check out our new group coaching program called Wine Sales Stimulator. I know it says wine and you sell whiskey, but don't let that bother you. More than half of our members are distillery owners. So you're going to benefit greatly from this. But I'm going to put a link in the description where you can learn more about this program. It's a combination of 3 things. 12 different classrooms with all the training and information you need to be successful selling. A community of other members that you can network with, share contacts, help each other out. This is very, very significant. And then weekly coaching. We have 3 hours of live weekly coaching. And even if you can't make it live, you can submit questions and get them answered. We record all the coaching calls, so you can just flip over to the recording, fast forward to the part where you ask the question and get the answer you need. So classrooms, community, and coaching. This is a winning combination. What it allows us to do is provide all of our best consulting advice and knowledge at a very, very affordable price. So check it out. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy parts 2 and 3. If you get value from this video, please click the like button, and we'd love it if you'd subscribe. We are putting out new videos all the time. Thanks so much for watching.